Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar on how to create a winning company culture with Christopher Pendry from Cap City Dental Lab. I'm Alex Ball with ProSites, and if you aren't already familiar with us, we develop customizable practice websites as well as marketing and efficiency software to make running your practice as easy and as streamlined as possible. I'm very excited to be joined by Christopher Pendry today, but before we get started, we do have just a few housekeeping items. We will be sending out a recording of the webinar to all registrants tomorrow. So if you have to hop off early, or if you have a colleague who wasn't able to attend, you will still receive all of the information afterwards. Also, after the webinar, a quick survey will pop up on your screen. We would greatly appreciate it if you took a moment just to fill out the survey. Let us know what you thought of today's presentation, how we did, and what you would like to see from us in the future. And lastly, if you have questions at any time, please go ahead and submit them in the chat box or in the question box. We will be answering questions as we go. So without further ado, thank you so much for joining us today, and I will go ahead and turn it over to Christopher.
Thank you, Alex. I'd like to begin with saying thank you to Alex and the ProSites team. They've done a wonderful job putting all of this together, rather. You want to go ahead and go to the first slide, Alex?
Of course.
So when we talk about culture, it's a pretty open-ended subject, and I believe whether you're on a sports team or in any business, it's all the same. I think it's the most overused term in business and in sports. It's not always rah-rah, but it's also one of the most overlooked aspects in any business. And you would be surprised by making just a few simple changes how that can change your vision in your business. What is company culture? So the definition of that is it's a set of behavioral and procedural norms that can be observed within a company. Company culture makes up the identity of an organization and defines the work environment. There's a lot to that statement. So what we've done as an organization is we've decided to come up with our own definition. I think as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, which all of you are, you should determine what that definition is. Ours is very simple. Our definition is we want to connect people in a positive way to consistently support a vision. Consistency is key to providing stability with process, policies, ethics, values, employee behaviors, and goals. And I think it's often overlooked the sacrifices that you guys make as clinicians to become who you are today and actually have the practice that you are today. But with a few changes internally to the culture of your business, I believe you'll find that most of that will change. So I guess the question from this is, how many people attending today can actually define their culture? Do your people speak the language? We'll cover this in further slides. If not, then you're not connecting with your folks and you're on an island by yourself. Next slide, Alex. I think centerpiece to culture revolves around having good, strong core values. And that's a belief system that you have as the entrepreneur or the business owner. And core values should be taken very seriously, and you shouldn't take any shortcuts when you establish those core values. We went through extensive exercises with an entrepreneurial operating system that we use called EOS to get our core values. I wouldn't make any exceptions when hiring based on our core values. If we have a candidate, no matter how talented they are, no matter how hard of a worker they are, if they don't possess our core values, it'll never work out. Our business in particular, we have very high retention rates with employees. We have employees that have been here for 18 plus years. But at the end of the day, I know as the entrepreneur that I can't do everything. I can't control everything. So we hire based off of those core values. It's the belief system of the person or the organization. They will directly impact the culture of your business, and make sure that you hire within those core values. Our core values are as follows. They're very simple. Always be respectful, be very humbly confident, be disciplined and driven, have a willingness to learn, and be a proactive and independent thinker. And all of these core values will be exhibited throughout this presentation today. These are very simple things, but these are the core of our business, and this is how we hire. This directly impacts the culture of our business, and this also will help you as the entrepreneur execute on your vision. Next slide. Next slide, Alex.
Is it showing for you? It's moving for me.
Okay. Does your company practice currently have core values?
Okay. Let's see here. Sorry about that. Let's see, is it showing again?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I have core focus, discover your why.
Correct.
There we go.
So once you have your core values in place, you want to think about why you wake up and go to the office every day. Your core focus is going to be your purpose, passion, or your cause. And you want to be very specific with your core focus. We have changed our core focus within the organization. Our core focus at one point years ago was very competitive to competitors in the marketplace. But as we stepped back and stepped away from that, really our core focus is on our customer. It doesn't matter if we're selling Q-tips or crowns, we have a customer. And I think many times in our industry, especially dental labs and dental suppliers, I think their focus is in the wrong place. Most of your vendors believe that they are partially responsible for the end user success with the patient, and their focus is on the patient. We took a step away from that and we evaluated things, and our focus daily is 100% customer satisfaction to any dental professional, because at the end of the day, that's our customer. So we want to go above and beyond for you. So we really try to spread that throughout the organization. We want any employee in our business to be an advocate for you, because at the end of the day, you're the doctor, you're the clinical expert, you're treating the patient, and you're ultimately responsible to that patient. We're responsible to you. So the reason that we wake up and go to the office every day is to have 100% customer satisfaction with any of our customers. It's very important to establish a core focus in your business, because that's going to spread throughout the organization. And you want, as you continue to build that culture within your organization, you want your employees to be advocates for your core values. You want your employees to be advocates for your core focus. Next slide, Alex. So we'll probably spend a little bit of time on this slide here. I don't know that this resonates with a lot of businesses out there that are failing because they don't have a company culture. I think you've got three types of businesses. You've got a bad business where nobody leads. You've got a business that's a good business where you, as the owner, operator, you're doing everything. And you've got exceptional businesses to where you delegate and you elevate, and you trust your people, your team leaders, to lead. So how do you know that your culture and your business is working? Well, your best employees are going to be your hardest and also your smartest workers. They become the messenger for your vision. Always be open with your vision with your people. You don't necessarily have to share the financials of your business with your team. However, if you want to buy another practice, if you want to add another associate to your practice, if you want to increase number of new patients being seen in your practice, you want to share those thoughts and that vision with your staff. I think so many times entrepreneurs, we have all these thoughts in our head, but the communication of those thoughts can be a challenge at times, as simple as they are. So you want to make sure that you communicate well with your staff, because you really want them to become the messenger for your vision. You want to speak a certain language. When you go to France, if you don't speak French, you're not part of the culture. So you want to have we have a glossary internally to where we have defined terms within our business, and everyone in our business speaks that language. So we want them to be advocates for you, right? We want them to speak, understand, and comprehend the language. Our language may not be your language. That's up to you, and that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. You want them to be your voice in the practice. And this will allow you to scale your business. And more importantly, this will take some of that stress off of you. I'm sure there's a lot of times where you feel like you're on an island by yourself, you're doing everything. You walk into the practice and you question why Sally is doing her job a certain way. Well, it all comes down to communication and the language and the culture in your business. These are 6 key areas that we look at and take very seriously with our culture. We want all of our employees to take ownership. And to take ownership, you really have to build a trust with that employee, because we are okay if employees make mistakes. We're only human. I look at failing as growth. We look at that as an educational process within our business, because we learn from our past to create our future. So we want our employees to take ownership for every job title, every job description, everything that they are responsible for in your business. We also want them to have that purpose, that core focus. Ours is 100% customer satisfaction. So if you're packing boxes and shipping them to a customer, or you're building porcelain, or you're a customer service representative on the phone, they all have that same focus across the board. We want them also to show humility. I think ego is it's a business killer. And at the same time, nobody's going to want to work for you. Nobody will follow you into the desert, as I like to say, with no water if you have an enormous ego. So you have to do a lot of self-reflection as it relates to humility. But once you start showing that humbleness to folks, it spreads throughout the organization. And if that's one of your core values, you're only hiring people that have that trait. And that'll lead into some accountability. Everything in a healthy work environment, healthy culture, isn't rah, rah, go team. There are times that we have to have very difficult discussions with our team members. However, if we've laid a solid foundation for them and they trust us, they'll understand that there is accountability attached. One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to put yourself in a position, once again, to where you're doing everything. And I've worked with thousands and thousands of dentists in my career, and I can't tell you how many docs are overworked and underappreciated. Nobody really understands that frustration other than them. And a lot of that has to do with the culture that they built within their practice. Micromanaging can be a killer as well. If we've got a ceramist that wants to use a certain type of brush to build porcelain, that's okay, as long as we end up with a very consistent product that makes that end user happy, that's all we care about. So accountability, taking ownership, having a purpose. When you wake up in the morning, you have a reason to go to work. Showing a little humility are very, very important. One thing that I believe a lot of people in business don't have is a mutual trust, especially with their employees. We have an open door policy. And I've had employees call me at 10 o'clock at night because they trust me. There's a lot of little things that we do as an organization for our employees to build that trust. Now, I don't have them standing on a log outside of our facility and falling off backwards, waiting on me to catch them. But there's little things that you can do over time to build that trust. And that's very important because if you want to scale your business and you want to execute on your vision, you have to have people around you that trust you, that you can delegate your vision to be able to scale. And I think all of this leads to teamwork. I say it all the time, whether it's the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, the teams with the best players don't always win championships. The teams with the best cultures win championships. And I think business and sports, there are a lot of parallels there. Well, Alex, you were a volleyball player. I mean, what's your experience? Has your experience kind of bled into the business world from being a collegiate athlete?
Definitely. I think that in any aspect in life, there's a teamwork aspect. You have to get along with others. You have to respect their vision, the way that they want to do it. Like you said earlier, as long as the end result is the result you want. But yeah, I think, working with others, working well with others for one common goal is a really good point. Here at ProSites, we focus on, everyone's strengths might be different, but we have one common mission, and that's to help our members achieve success. So I think, yeah, definitely teamwork is important.
Yeah, and teamwork's a fantastic thing. If I tried to take all the calls, if I tried to manufacture all the products, if I tried to do all the marketing, I would go crazy. I wouldn't be able to scale my business. And I would give our customers a mediocre result. And, one of the things that we preach in here is consistency. And I think consistency is something that's often overlooked. And I'm sure any dentist that's on this call today can relate. They can use whether it be a supplier or a manufacturer, whatever type of vendor they're looking at. And, things might go okay for a week or two, or maybe even a month, but then they start seeing those ebbs and flows, right? So you start really losing consistency because the business owner has got a lifestyle business and they're trying to do everything in that business. And I know for myself that I try to surround myself with people that are a lot smarter than myself. It's a world of specialization. So our marketing team is much smarter than I am with marketing. Our financial team, much smarter than I am with financials. So I think that teamwork is incredibly important. And I think if you wrap all of this up in a bow with a healthy culture, it's really going to allow you as the business owner to really move the needle in your business. I've met so many dentists over the years that are exceptional visionaries. They've got fantastic visions, but they start moving down the road, and one thing that's the common thread there is they really don't have a culture in their business, and they get to as you grow, it can be painful. And there's a lot of hurdles that we have to jump over through that growth phase. But if our culture's working and we're working as a team, we're going to be able to get over those hurdles much easier. I can't emphasize enough that you want your team, you want you really want their voice to be your voice, and you want to develop leaders within inside of your business that are going to advocate for your vision. And once again, I think this is going to be create an environment, especially for you, with the responsibility that you have as a clinician. It's going to take a lot of the weight off of your shoulders. But once again, trust, teamwork, accountability, taking ownership, that purpose, which is our core focus. And for us, really having some humility has been a vital part of our growth. I mean, we were, you know, 16 years ago, we were the mom and pop operation here in Columbus, and now we've been very fortunate because I believe a lot has to do with our culture. We've been able to grow our business, and now we have a national footprint. We have a lab to lab business. We have several companies within the parent company now. So I would have never been able to do any of that if I didn't possess our core values. I didn't believe in our focus. I didn't believe in our team. So you want to go to the next slide?
Yes.
Unless we have any questions.
Yeah, I would like to start with one question, just about how did you start developing these core values? How would you suggest transitioning from having maybe no core values or very loose core values to more?
That's a great question. Actually, I went through the exercise with EOS. A business guru by the name of Gino Wickman came up with that system. I internally had core values that I learned as a child. Growing up, my parents always taught me humility. They always said, if you're really good at something, you don't need to talk about it because actions speak louder than words, and your results will also speak for themselves. So a lot of our core values, I come from my childhood and my family. I come from a very traditional Southern family. I'm originally from North Carolina. So, being very respectful was always important in our family. I also come from a long line of entrepreneurs. So disciplined and driven, our core values stem from my childhood, but I think they're very basic. There's no rocket science to this. I'm not a rocket scientist. So what I did is, years and years ago, I had our core values and, I had them posted in the business. But I decided to seek out more, take a more professional approach and engage with folks that are experts in this area of developing core values. And the core values weren't too far off from what we originally had, say, 15 years ago. But I think it's very important once you do establish those core values and you do have a core focus, because those two go together as it relates to your culture and moving the needle in your business. I would have those hanging up somewhere in your business every day on the wall somewhere. I have those printed, framed, and I have those on the wall. And once again, once you get your core values established, don't hire outside of those core values. I know a lot of businesses that hire outside of their core values, and they don't understand why that particular person's not working out for them. And it's not a right people, right person, right seat issue. It's that person doesn't have the core values, right? So I would never hire someone within our business that's an egomaniac. I would never hire someone in our business if they don't show or have the willingness to learn, because, as a business, even a dental practice is a business and their customer is the patient. Dentists can learn from their patients. Dentists can learn from their staffs, just like we can learn from our dentist, right? So you have to have a lot of these traits. And I think at the center of all of that, at least for us, is having that ability to self-reflect and show a little humility.
Definitely, that's awesome. We can move on to the next one. It's all the questions we have for now.
So on this slide, we tried to, outline some of the common pitfalls of a toxic workplace. And I've been in businesses over the years where all of these are apparent. And once again, none of this is rocket science. You can't expect change in your business if you have a lack of purpose, if you have no leadership in your business. Once again, there are three types of businesses. You got bad business where no one leads. You got good businesses to where you as the entrepreneur, you're trying to do everything. And you've got great businesses to where you can delegate, you can elevate, and you can trust your team leaders to lead their teams. So having a lack of purpose and a lack of leadership is incredibly important. Flexibility, whether it's HR policy or whatever the case is, you have to be flexible. Situations arise with folks all the time. We've had situations, a perfect example. Our team leader for our customer service team, his wife is pregnant, and I insist that he takes a week off after his wife delivers because he'll never get that week back. And I'm not going to dock any of his PTO for taking that week off. So he's not going to be worried about his PTO. He's not going to be concerned that, he's only got 2 weeks left after that, because things happen in life. So we have to be flexible with our folks. And I think when you're flexible with your team, I think what that does is that really strengthens that bond and builds that mutual trust that we talked about in the prior slide. Another pitfall is poor training. You can go home at the end of the day and you can be upset at your entire team, but if you do not support them, or I do not support them and give them the training they need to be successful, then you're going to have you're going to face a lot of challenges. You're not going to be able to scale. You're going to be working hard as opposed to really working smart. And I think sometimes that's where that lack of appreciation comes in. And a lot of things spawn from poor training and even the communication and transparency. Employees don't understand that you're the face of the business. Your name is on the front door. A lot of times they don't understand that it costs you money to bring patients into the practice. So when they come into the practice, you want everyone in your business to be a representation of you and be a representation of your core values and your focus and your vision. The next one is communication. I don't know why this is so difficult for some people. I don't know if folks just want to avoid conversation, but I find that the more that you communicate, the easier things get. Even if you have to have a very difficult conversation with anyone on your leadership team, or anyone in your business, I think you need to have that and be fully transparent. I think a lot of times there's a lot of miscommunication because of lack of transparency in business. No accountability. That's a big one. If you've got a dental assistant that makes a mistake, they don't want to be held accountable for it because they're afraid they're going to be in trouble, right? They're afraid they're going to get written up, or they're going to get scrutinized, or they're going to lose their jobs. In our business, we got to go back to that prior slide where we talk about accountability, and we look at making mistakes as it's imminent. We're all going to make mistakes and no one's perfect, but the most important thing to us is how we handle that mistake. So I believe that leads to a lot of transparency in our business, and it does bring that accountability piece into play, and it does strengthen the trust that you have with your leaders in your business. Lack of engagement. Most business owners, at the end of the day, they leave. They don't know anything about their employees or their families, or they don't spend any time with them outside of the business. And I've learned that if you do like a quarterly dinner with your team, you'd be surprised what you can learn, and you would be surprised at really how many good people there are out there, and how smart and what value adds. And I would say, as an entrepreneur, if you really got a strong team and a healthy culture, how fortunate you are as that entrepreneur to have those folks on your team. I know for me personally, without our team, we wouldn't be anything. So we try to have at least quarterly engagements where we do something outside of the business, whether it be Top Golf, or we go to their favorite restaurant, or whatever the case may be. We try to engage with our team outside of the business a little bit because we really want to get to know them. Any questions, Aaron?
Yes, we have here, like what if you're experiencing or you notice like within your business that there are one of these pitfalls happening? Do you have something like that you use to like catch yourself and get back on track? Let's say with maybe like the lack of engagement one, really spending time with them. What is a good way to get, I guess, buy-in or get that shift back on focus?
Well, I think there's a couple different things there. I know years and years ago, it's because we hired outside of our core values. That would be the number one thing. If we've got someone in a leadership role on our team, that's it's our job as the entrepreneur, the business owner, to inject confidence in our staff, right? And let them know that it's okay to make mistakes. And I think that's one thing a lot of business owners do a very poor job at is, they're almost dictatorial with their staffs. So that's where you see a lot of these pitfalls come into play when it's a one-man operation. It's my way or the highway. I think if you have that, you're going to have very poor communication. There's going to be really no transparency in that communication. So once again, I've got an open door policy because we encourage our team members to give feedback. We want to make sure that we're supporting them. We want to give them the best opportunity we can to put them in a winning position. And finally, you could have the wrong person in the wrong seat, right? One thing I learned a long time ago with expectations is you're probably never going to change an employee's weaknesses. You're never going to make them really good at what they're weak at, or you're going to have them in the wrong position. You're going to have, we call it right people, right seats. So if that person is going to work every day and their position is solely focused around a weakness, a lot of times what happens is you'll lose engagement with them and you'll start seeing these pitfalls come into play. So we really try to focus on that. We really try to eliminate the weaknesses and really focus on our employee strengths. So if we've got someone that's a good communicator internally, but they're not a good communicator on the phone with our customers, we're not going to put them in a customer service position. We're not going to make them a problem solver, right, to our customer, because that's what we're in the business of. We're in the business of solving problems. So we're not going to put them in that position. Otherwise, you're going to see some of these pitfalls come into play. And if we didn't have an open door policy, if we were understanding and have flexibility, that employee wouldn't be transparent. They wouldn't communicate with us, and the mistakes will continue to compile over time.
That's awesome. Okay.
I believe we got one more slide here.
Yes.
This is just kind of a general overview of our ecosystem within our culture here. one of the things that we focus on is really it's the little things you do for people. Financial compensation isn't the end all be all for every employee because you can have unhappy employees that make a lot of money. You can have very happy, energetic employees that aren't making as much. You, as the owner, have to determine those variables within your team. So we really focus on the little things with our folks. And a good example, I've got a guy that works for me. He's been here for 12 years. He works in our shipping and receiving department. He manages all of our logistics, but he drives an hour to work every day. And if we think about what gas prices have been over the last year, that can be a killer for anyone. So I've been giving him a gas card every week for months. And it's little things like that that build that mutual trust. It gives that employee confidence that you're going to take care of them. So when you as the entrepreneur want to make changes within the organization or move forward with your vision, they're going to be right there beside you. Flexible policies is another one. Once again, employees pregnant, you got to be flexible with things. You need to have a manual HR, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We need to be a little bit flexible with our employees because we're never going to be able to build that mutual trust with them if we're not. We're never going to be able to communicate transparently with them if we're not. We want to create that healthy life work balance because I think as business owners, a lot of times we tend to forget that they go home and they have a family. And, one thing that I always remind myself is, you can change their lives in a minute by making a poor decision. And I take that very seriously. It's very important to me that we create a healthy work-life balance with our team. And last but not least is having transparency of your vision as an entrepreneur and actually encouraging your team to give you feedback on what you want to do. You are the entrepreneur. You're the one taking the risk. Whether you use that feedback when you make your decisions or not is not relevant. You may find that you get fantastic feedback, but I think what's most important here is your employees feel like they can give you feedback. But I would always go back as it relates to culture and reevaluate or establish those fundamental core values and put your core focus as key points or KPIs for your employees, and go through your team and challenge them on your core values. Right? Ask them to give you an example of the last time they were disciplined and driven. Right? Ask them when the last time they showed a little humility on the phone with a customer was. When you challenge your employees like that, I think long term they'll appreciate that, and that'll build a stronger bond across the board in your organization.
Awesome.
That's all.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Christopher. That was really great. I want to give everyone a few moments to, if you have any questions, any last minute questions, submit them in the questions or the chat box. Go ahead and do that now. And also you can download that handout as well, which is the slide deck with all of Christopher's information and the info from this presentation. While y'all are going through submitting those questions, I'm just going to go over ProSites one more time. As I mentioned in the beginning, we do develop customizable practice websites as well as marketing and efficiency software to make running your practice as easy and as streamlined as possible. This slide's just a little bit about us. And we'll go ahead and move on to this next slide. I'll leave this one up during questions. It has all of Christopher's information as well as our information. So if you want to write it down or download it, please feel free to do so. But Christopher, it looks like we have another question. They're asking, they don't have any core values or that like real company culture set up yet, but what is something that they could do starting today? What is something small that they could incorporate, or like what is like that first step maybe that you would take?
Well, what I did before, I would highly recommend seeking out some type of entrepreneurial operating system for your business, because I think what it'll do is it'll provide that structure that you're looking for, and you'll really get clarity on why your core values are your core values. But I would just, I would do a little self-reflection if you don't have anywhere to start. I know for me, growing up, once again, showing humility and being respectful. I mean, they should be no-brainers to all of us, right? But unfortunately, they're not. So those were two key things that I found. Maybe there's something in your family life that you can pull from, right? Something that's very important to you, because I think organically good people have core values that they try to live their life by daily. It just really, I think a lot of times it sounds harder than it really is as we relate it to business, right?
Mhm.
Because once again, dental practices, dental suppliers, labs, NFL football teams, it's all the same thing. It's all based off a set of values and a culture. So, you may want to self-reflect, think about your home lives, think about things in your home life that are important to you. Um, I learned a long time ago that if the only reason you go to work every day is money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Because if you try to establish those core values and have that focus in your business, all of the intangibles will take care of themselves. All the monetary rewards will take care of themselves. And I would just say that, you know, don't sacrifice what you want in the future for what you want today. So I would be very patient and just do a little self-reflection here.
Awesome. It looks like that's all of the questions that we have for today. If anything comes up, please submit those questions in that chat box, and either myself or we can send them over to Christopher, and we can get you some more insights on if anything comes up, or if you just don't have any questions right now. But yeah, just want to give a quick reminder to fill out that website or that survey at the end. Fill out a few questions and make sure to download that handout. And you should be receiving the recording of this webinar tomorrow. Thank you again so much, Christopher. Really appreciate it. And thank you so much, everyone, for attending.